In Victoria in 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the differences in lifestyles between people living in regions compared to their city counterparts. Why would someone live in a regional area? Why would they move to the country? To understand why someone would move to the country, let's first compare a city's population to a regional population. In this case, Greater Melbourne to its regional neighbour South Gippsland. South Gippsland is on the southeast edge of Melbourne. Melbourne has a larger total land mass than South Gippsland at 9,992 square kilometres, about 3 times larger than South Gippsland at 3,295 square kilometres. About 4 million people live in Greater Melbourne, but just under 30,000 live in South Gippsland. Greater Melbourne's population density is 448 people per square kilometre. That seems quite crowded. In South Gippsland, on the other hand, it's a population density of only 9 people per square kilometre. That leaves more room for cows. Gippsland produces 32% of the state's or 19% of the country's total dairy production. To find out who lives in South Gippsland, I spoke to Vicky Bradley, the Social Planning Officer with the South Gippsland Shire.
So we always compare South Gippsland either to rural Victoria or to Victoria as a whole. So as South Gippsland in comparison to other rural areas, South Gippslanders as a greater proportion are older. They are more likely to be aged over 55. So around 45% of our population's aged over 55.
That's a lot of people over 55.
That is a lot of people, and that's a question you're getting onto later. But it seems to be a popular place for people to move to from other areas who are looking at early retirement and that sort of thing. So that population group's growing.
Using 2016 census data from ID Community Demographic Resources, it is estimated that there's 29,914 people living in South Gippsland. To make it easier to understand, let's break South Gippsland down into a village of 100 people. 49 of them would be boys and 51 would be girls. Out of those 100 people, 21 of them would be under 18 years old, with the largest group being over 55. There's 46 of them for each 100 people. This leaves a population of only 31 people per 100 residents of working age in South Gippsland. That's not a high percentage of the workforce left to provide services for everybody else. Vicky Bradley again.
Well, prior to COVID, we actually have very low unemployment numbers in South Gippsland.
Yep.
The lowest in Gippsland, in fact. But some of the theory behind that is that people who are looking for work that want a career actually move away to do that if they can't find one locally.
Using the same village of 100 people, let's find out what the working population of South Gippsland does. Only 5 of the 100 would be out of work or looking for work. This means 95 out of every 100 is earning some sort of income. That makes the unemployment rate in South Gippsland lower than the average for regional Victoria. So what do these people do for work? It turns out the majority of people in jobs in South Gippsland is not in journalism, with only 0.7% of the population employed in media. It's agriculture, with 17 for every 100 people in the population working the land. This is 10 people higher than other parts of regional Victoria, followed by 11 people working in health, 9 in retail or trade, 7 in manufacturing or education. I thought I'd ask someone about what they do in South Gippsland. I spoke to Paula, born and bred in the area, about how she earns a living and finds life in South Gippsland.
Said I don't have a name for it. I made it up, so we labelled it artisan upholsterer. So I didn't keep saying to people that I've basically made up my trade, what I'm doing. I'm self-taught. I didn't actually go to uni and do this, or go and do. I think it's apprenticeship actually.
So what are you doing right now?
I'm actually working on a wingback at the moment for a lady in Traralgon, and it's going to be a combination of green velvet and a linen. Yeah, and working on about 8 other things at the same time.
What was it like growing up with Gippsland?
Well, I grew up on a farm, so to some extent I felt a little bit sheltered, and I had Italian parents, so it was a bit more, you know, they just want you to stay out there. But as a teenager growing up here, it was pretty good. Like, you know, we've got there's a lot of beautiful bushland that Dad used to always take us to because he worked for the lands department. So we were always kind of out on little adventures in going to the bush or the beach. Yeah, I guess it was nice here. I think it was good. I don't think that there's a whole lot of opportunity, but growing up here, it was good.
If life is good here and more people are moving to the area, I should speak to someone who has. I spoke to tree changer Michael about how he found himself in South Gippsland.
Probably 3 or 4 reasons. I was made redundant. I knew my house in Melbourne was worth quite a bit. I spoke to my neighbour and we sold our house together to a developer, so we made some money. So rather than have everything in one basket, we bought 2 properties, one here, one up the road. And I've always liked the bush. I lived in the bush for 4 years when I was younger. I've got a sister up here and it's not too far from Melbourne.
So how did you manage to buy 2 houses?
Down in Melbourne, you got a house, it's worth $900,000. If you were to pick that house up and move it to the country, it might only be worth $350,000. That's the difference. So when you get to a certain age, sell that $900,000 house, you can buy an equally good house up here and still have hundreds of thousands of dollars left over.
A report by the South Gippsland Shire has found that by 2031, the population of the area will grow to 36,000 residents. Like Michael, that growth will be from tree changers moving to South Gippsland for the low-cost housing. Social planner Vicky Bradley again.
And even if it's an older person looking to retire early,
Yep.
And they might have a house in Melbourne, you can buy a lot in South Gippsland and still have money to live on for the rest of your life.